To begin repairs, remove the chemical pump from the water motor. Next, remove the chemical feed tube. Place the water motor, lower section down, into the repair stand. Using your Phillips head screwdriver and 3/8" wrench, remove the screws and nuts from the cap of the water motor. Remove the cap from the center section by firmly gripping the water motor while lifting up on the mounting bracket on the bottom of the cap. With the cap of the upper section removed, you will see the upper portion of the inlet and outlet valves. There is a plus sign on the top of the inlet valve and a minus sign on the top of the outlet valve. There is also a corresponding plus and minus molded into the top of the center section. You will see the pivot arm and the actuator arm assembly. You will see the tension rings. They are designed especially for the Chemilizer medicator and should be replaced only through Chemilizer products. The top of the diaphragm piston assembly can be seen with the arrow pointing towards you. You will also see a Phillips head screw that helps to hold the center halves together, and finally, a large O-ring seal. To begin repair of the top section, remove the 2 tension rings. If the rings are broken, be sure to recover all pieces. Using your C-clip removal tool, remove 1 C-clip from the front pin of the pivot arm assembly and 1 C-clip from the center pivot pin of the pivot arm assembly. Once the C-clips are removed, pull the pivot pins from their housing and remove the pivot arm assembly by lifting up on the front and pulling towards the front of the water motor. Next, remove the actuator arm assembly, and finally, remove the bypass assembly. All pivot holes, pivot arms, actuator arms, and pivot pins should be free of rust, pits, and should show no signs of wear. They should also be free of scaling, crystallization, or other buildup. The brass bushing, located in the pivot posts, should show no signs of wear. The actuator T should show no signs of wear. And the piston guide should also show no signs of wear. Any parts that are broken, damaged, or show excessive signs of wear should be replaced with new parts at this time. Once you have inspected all parts in the upper section and replaced any parts showing wear, you are ready for reassembly. Reinstall the bypass assembly by inserting it between the pivot pin support posts. Reinstall the pivot arm assembly. Reattach the pivot arm assembly by inserting a pivot pin through the center pivot arm hole, through the center pivot post, and through the hole in the bypass assembly. Secure the pin with a C-clip using your C-clip replacement tool. Next, insert a pivot pin through the front pivot arm hole and through the water bushing in the diaphragm piston. Secure the pin with a C-clip. Reattach the actuator arm assembly by inserting the actuator arm assembly through the slot in the actuator T. Insert a pivot pin through the pivot arms, through the pivot post, and through the hole in the bypass assembly. Secure the pin with a C-clip. Test for correct action of the diaphragm. Please note the tension rings are a special composite unique to Chemilizer. Do not substitute other products. Correct tension is important for proper operation of the water motor. Check the tension by locking the tension ring on the back tension pin and pulling it forward toward the front center post. Check the upper assembly for proper operation. Push down on the top of the diaphragm assembly, then push down on the back of the front pivot arm assembly. Repeat this process several times. The upper assembly should dry fire at each step. Next, check the O-ring for nicks and cuts. Replace the O-ring if necessary. To ensure proper sealing, lightly lubricate the O-ring with a food-grade silicone gel. This gel is available in convenient foil packs from Chemilizer products. Place the lubricated O-ring in the O-ring groove on top of the center section. Next, place the cap on the center section, being certain to align the screws with the proper holes in the center section. Place both hands on the top cap and push straight down. A popping sound can be heard when the cap seals properly. Tighten the screws and nuts in a crisscross pattern to ensure even pressure on the seal.